End of the day, let's be honest, what's actually being put in place, and personally I don't think it's that extreme, and I don't think the government's stupid enough to put anything too extreme without there being a backlash from the public.
Well, I think that the only real freedom that's under threat in Australia is, I suppose, the whole censorship of the internet thing, but that probably won't even happen because public opinion is against it, and I don't think politicians are stupid enough to actually go through with something so contentious. So, yeah.
I think we have good freedom of expression laws in Australia, but what really scares me about the whole issue is the way fear is used to sort of make the public accept increasingly restricted freedoms. For example, the way child pornography has been used as a way to secretly blacklist all these internet sites, and that we won't know anything about it. Another thing is the way that terrorism has been used to increasingly restrict our freedoms of expression, freedoms of association, and I just think the way fear is used to bring about these laws is quite scary.
You've got to wonder, what's the point if you're going to try and restrict people's internet freedoms, but it's going to be in a completely ineffective way? Why bother in the first place? It's a lot of money. So.
Okay, so journalists should be free to say what they want, and there's not enough freedom of speech in the country.
No, I don't think that the freedoms in Australia are really under attack. I think they're pretty good.
I think Australia has pretty policies up in terms of freedom of expression. The only thing that really worries me is more subtle restrictions they have on it. So just kind of things like who decides what we're taught in schools and like what we're not taught, and I think that's something that a lot of people you don't really think about, but it does affect us, and that's I think the most concerning thing about freedom of expression in Australia.
So I don't think that there is enough freedom in people's speech, because I think that we're not allowed to express our opinions about certain topics because they're often sort of seen as in a racial light or a prejudiced light on certain groups and people like that. So there's always going to be that card that gets played by the government or something, so the new policies are always being created to sort of trap our sort of expression in society sort of
basically I think I read an article this morning about the show South Park, and they had their most recent episode censored, so that's sort of a freedom there. So none of that happened here, so that obviously would be an issue here, so that's about it.
Well, I think in terms of freedom of information, Australia is pretty good in that it has a prescribed regime for citizens to obtain documents from the government. But that said, I think it's still quite difficult. The procedure is in place, but in order to actually get hold of things, it takes a lot of time and money to do that. But I suppose also compared to other countries, like Singapore, in general Australia is pretty good, and I think as long as you don't say anything too outrageous, the press is generally not too censored. So, that's all I have to say.